Hi, I'm Richard Hill, and I still live at home with my mum, stepdad and younger brother in Essex, just outside of London. I'm one of more than 3 million young adults who still live with their parents. The obvious benefit is that I save money. Which is good because, as these figures show, it's much more expensive to rent than owning a house now. And more than 1 million people spend over half their income on housing. So yeah, it's cheaper, but living at home is hardly perfect. Every day I wake up at 6:10 in the morning and get ready for work. Then it's time for my commute, involving 2 buses, 2 trains, and about 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. And of course, I get to do it all again when I finish for the day. But it's not just the travel that gets me down. So the fact is, living with my mum, my stepdad and my brother, it really doesn't feel like my own home now. Got good grades, I went to university, I've now got a good job, stable job, and yet I'm still finding it so hard to either rent or save for a deposit, and it's just ridiculous. One day I'd love to buy a house, but like most young people, I worry it's never going to happen. It's getting harder and harder to rent and save money. So I went to meet young people who have found different ways to do just that, to see if there's a way that I can rent, save for a house, and finally get my own place. The first stop on my journey was Brighton. I came to look at an affordable solution, available all over the country. It's not some futuristic housing design or clever new scheme. In fact, lots of people across the UK manage to rent affordably like this. One of them is Polly. She shares a house with 4 others and pays £250 a month for their flat in the centre of Brighton. That's around £200 cheaper than similar flats in the area. But looking around the place, you can quickly see why she pays less than you'd expect.
So this is the lounge and the kitchen. So we had problems with the drain in the sink over the summer. The whole thing went on for probably about 4 months, and that whole time we were having to wash up in the bathroom. So yep, this is the bathroom. It's difficult to clean, and when it rains, it leaks through, and it can get really mouldy down by the toilet. You just need to kind of replace a lot of this bathroom. So my bedroom's just up here, but this is the fire escape. There used to be a ladder, but one of the builders took it, so now it would be getting the chair out from the bedroom, and there's a wooden pallet which we could climb up if there was a fire. So this is my half of the bedroom.
Your half?
Yeah, we just needed to share, save a bit of money.
And you can clearly see that a lot of work needs to be done.
Yeah, there's tape all over the walls and the ceilings to try and hold it together. We get loads of leaks in here as well. And it's a really nice house in a great location, but it's just so run down.
Polly's dodgy housing situation is surprisingly common. A report from the Citizens Advice Bureau found that 1 in 3 private rental properties don't meet the government's decent home standard. Basically, the bare minimum condition you'd want your house to be in. Housing charity Shelter think that there are hundreds of thousands of revenge evictions every year, which means a lot of tenants don't feel like they can ask their landlords for repairs. It's something Polly and her housemate George definitely worry about. So do you feel comfortable putting pressure on your landlord to get things fixed?
When we had the problems with the sink and the oven, we suggested to him very politely that we pay half rent. He did not take kindly to it, did he? No. And he seemed so angry that we thought, he could just give us a month's notice.
And do you think that's fair, that he can just, kick you out or raise your rent?
No. no, it doesn't feel fair. And there have been a few times where we've just felt like we don't have anyone to go to with these problems. It's really depressing, isn't it?
It's scary not kind of feeling secure in the house that you live in.
Houses like this are the reason I'm still living at home. I know there are affordable places to rent, but usually it means living in rubbish conditions like this. At the moment, there's not really any protection if a landlord wants to kick you out for complaining. I want my own space and to save money as much as the next guy, but I don't want to live in slum conditions to do it. The next person I went to see was Tim Lowe.
Hey guys, welcome to my new home.
Last year, Tim set himself the challenge of renting in central London for less than £500 a month. Not an easy task. In the end, he managed to find 6 locations in 4 months, but some were pretty unusual. He lived in old office blocks, on a houseboat, even in a converted horse box,
I found the most difficult being on a houseboat with no privacy. I was sharing with one other guy. We had no walls and no electricity or hot water, which would mean coming back from work and literally chucking a cold bucket over my head every evening. That wasn't particularly pleasant.
Tim's clearly an adventurous guy, and obviously not everyone can live in a horse box or on a boat. But he also lived here, in the Y-Cube. These flat pack houses are small, around half the size of a normal one-bedroom flat in London. But they can be built in 3 weeks and offer a bedroom, bathroom, kitchen and living room. Tim feels something like this could be a solution for a lot of young people.
Where you're in areas where there is a very short supply of affordable housing, the Y-Cube really comes onto its own. I've been really impressed with my time since staying here. It's been very easy, it's been very functional, so I'd be pretty happy to rent one of these myself.
You seem to be pretty positive about it. Do you think this is a long-term solution?
At the moment, the Y-Cube really is a social housing solution. It's not a solution for someone like myself in the private renting sector.
And that's the problem. The Y-Cube's designed to provide temporary accommodation for vulnerable people. There's nothing like this on the market at the moment for people like me. But the idea of a smaller, more affordable flat clearly appeals to Tim.
There is nothing out there which is designed for young people like ourselves who are working, which is affordable. It's a bit like me going down to my local garage and I want to buy a small, efficient, cheap car, and yet all I'm getting sold is a 4x4. What I would like to see is smaller units being built where I can rent affordably and centrally.
I could see Tim's point. Having an affordable flat to yourself sounds great, and the Y-Cube was really nicely done. But to me, it feels wrong that young people should have to give up so much space. Why should we be the generation that's forced to live in tiny houses? It was safe to say that I hadn't solved my housing problem just yet. So I jumped on another train. This time I was heading to Weston-super-Mare to learn about being a property guardian, which basically means living in a vacant property to stop it being vandalised or squatted, and paying less rent in the process. Properties like this disused police station, managed by Camelot, the largest property guardian service in the UK. I came to meet Ed, a Dutchman working in the area who'd been a property guardian for about 6 months. He was just about to move into this building and wanted to show me around.
So this is a shared space. I'll share it with the 3 housemates here. We're going to eat dinner here because the kitchen is there.
You can definitely tell it's an old office, can't you?
Yeah, you can, but it's a lovely kitchen. It's not too big, not too small either. So yeah, the shelves are here.
Very like a sort of school changing rooms.
Yeah, it actually reminded me of that as well. I did basketball for 5 years and it looks a bit the same. Okay, so this is my room.
Okay, big size.
Yeah, it's really big. That's why I wanted it. I have to clean some stuff and paint the walls a bit. Right, so this is going to be my bedroom.
It's spacious.
Yeah, I'm going to use this big part for my bed, as I'm quite tall. I need a big bed anyway.
So does it like bother you that essentially it is an office that you're sleeping in? I mean, it doesn't feel very
No, not really. I'm just going to decorate it any way I want because I got it unfurnished, so I can just make it any way I want actually.
Tour over, Ed and I had a chat. The lack of furniture meant sitting on the floor. I wasn't that impressed by the building itself, so maybe the appeal was financial. So how much do you pay for staying here?
This is about £280 per month.
£280 a month?
Yeah.
Okay. And how much is a sort of flat in the local area?
That would be around 700, I think, for this size of room.
So it's quite a big saving there.
Yeah, water, gas, electricity are all included, and council tax as well, so it's really, really cheap.
So, the savings are good, but the Guardian scheme has limited spaces, and there are other potential limitations too. So under the Guardian scheme, you're not a tenant, are you?
No, I'm actually a licensee, which means that I get like only 4 weeks notice to move out.
So this isn't for everyone, is it really?
You have to be willing to live in like some kind of property like this. So for example, in an old police station, or I lived before here, I lived in an old care home.
So how long do you think you could live here for?
I had a housemate who was living with Camelot for like 5 years or so, but I want to save for my own place and buy my own house, and that's about it. I don't want to do it too long, but it's a nice temporary solution, definitely.
Being a guardian clearly works at Ed, but I knew what my friends would say if I was living in an empty office block. And the fear of being kicked out with so little notice means that Ed's right. It really is only a temporary solution. I needed something more secure. Making sacrifices to live affordably when you're younger isn't a new thing, but it feels like young people are being asked to give up more and more to pay for their rent. Someone who'd made a big sacrifice to save some money was Rosie. who told me about her old living arrangements.
For just over a year, I shared a bed with my best friend Katie.
A bed or a room?
A bed.
Wow, okay.
Sort of to save money, but also it just seemed like a really fun idea at the time. Katie and I would always say, like, why don't people get it? It's so normal. It wasn't normal. It was a bonkers situation.
So how was it sharing a bed with your friend for 15 months? Because that must have been, pretty testing.
So the first year was really, really fun. It was great. We managed to go on holiday together because of the money that we'd saved. I got out of my overdraft, but a year was enough. It's just not a sustainable way of living your life. We were like each other's wife. I think until I've moved into my own space, I underestimated the value of having just sanctuary and being alone is really healthy, and it's not necessarily that healthy to be in such an intense relationship.
Rosie was a lot like me, a university graduate who'd got a decent job who was doing whatever she had to save money. But for Rosie, even that didn't last long.
We were paying half rent each before. We're now paying 3 times what we were paying when we were living in the room together. Yeah, over half of our salary goes on just living.
Did you ever imagine, to find somewhere to live would be this difficult?
They don't tell you this at uni. You just read books for 3 years and have a lovely time, and you get your degree, and we're all earning what we kind of thought we would be, but it's not going to go up in line with the housing prices. It would never have occurred to me that I'd be able to go out for dinner and I'd be able to have fun and not worry about money, but to do that I would have to share a bed with my best friend.
To be honest, I didn't fancy sharing a bed with any of my friends, and it was safe to say that I hadn't solved my housing problem just yet. I'd met young people trying all sorts of things to save money, but none of them had really solved their renting worries. More than ever, I felt like young people were getting a rough deal when it comes to renting. For now, I'm heading home in exactly the same situation as when I started, still searching for an answer to my renting problems.